This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate third and final part of What If Naruto Gave Up on Sasuke after Retrieval arc. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
The three Genins were observing their surroundings and making notes about various objects and structures while the Genin team and their sensei went to see the Mizukage. The Mizukage's office was fairly easy to locate, and it had taken them 10 minutes to get there. They saw a secretary on their way to her office. She asks them, "How may I help you?" Naruto says to her, "We have come from Konoha by the orders of the Hokage to give your Mizukage a scroll, so if you would be kind enough to let us in," as the three Genins remain silent to avoid causing any trouble. She tells them, "Wait here for a bit. Let me inform her first," and enters the room to do so. She took a few minutes to return, and the others had to wait. When they enter Mizukage's office, three people are already there. "Go in, she is waiting for you." They see a middle-aged man with an eye patch over one eye, a child who is most likely Naruto's age and wearing glasses, and a sword on his back that has bandages wrapped around it. A stunning woman was seated next to him. She has fair skin and is a slim woman. Her auburn hair reaches her ankles, and one of her bangs covers her right eye. She has green eyes. Naruto says, "Mizukage Sama," and he and his team both bowed their heads in respect. After observing the three Genins of Konoha, the village chief takes a careful look at the individual standing next to them. As she took in his appearance, he appeared extremely attractive and dashing. His blonde hair with red tips at the ends and his deep blue eyes made him look stunning. Although she had no doubt that he was well developed, he wore a black cloak that concealed both his body and the clothing underneath it. No one in her village would have guessed that he was a visiting shinobi based on the way he stood in front of her, exuding confidence and serenity. The presence of foreign shinobi did not frighten him in the least. She preferred strong, self-assured men who had no fear. Mei was disheartened when she said, "My my, Konoha has rather attractive men in their ranks. I wouldn't mind spending the rest of my life with you with someone as dreamy as you, but you do look rather young for me," even though she always enjoyed complimenting self-assured men and watching them blush and falter a little. However, she received no response in return, just a straight face. After a moment or two of staring at her, Naruto turns to face the other two men present. "As your secretary would have told you, we have come from Konoha to hand over to you a scroll regarding details about a possible treaty signed by the Gondame Hokage, Senju Tsunade. I am a Konoha Jonin, Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, and these three are Moegi, A.N. IDK, her surname, Udon, same, N. He introduces himself and his teammates. He was about to introduce the final one when he saw Konohamaru staring at her with a flushed face. Hits him on the head. "This here is Sarutobi Konohamaru, who is clearly not focusing on the right thing at the moment," he says, cautioning him to try that again. Chuckles. "That is fine. I get those looks a lot from men, although some as handsome as you haven't looked at me like that." "Namikaze, was it? You must be the son of the Yondaime Hokage then," she says with a smile. The fact that he had a son surprised her a little. The world was kept in the dark about his son and someone as terrifying as he was in the shinobi world. As he says, "That I am son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina," the two men in the room become a little tense. Naruto noticed that Chojuro was perspiring a little when he heard his name and asked, "Are you fine? You are sweating in this moderate temperature room." "I am fine. I have heard of his achievements and how he killed 1,000 shinobis alone, and I was just worried a bit knowing he has a son," Chojuro tells him. When he was speaking to people, he was usually a nervous Nelly. "Hey, where is your courage, Chojuro? Scared of a man who is dead? I am older than you but not that easily threatened by it," Ao assertively says to calm himself. He didn't think the son of the Yellow Flash was familiar with his methods. As Mei interprets some words pertaining to her marriage, she muses, "Courage, scared of a man, older than you. Back in our days, Ao was about to lecture Chojuro when the Mizukage interrupted. Everyone in the room heard Mei whisper in his ears, "Ao, shut up or I will kill you," to stop him from talking further. His face lost color as he became perplexed and made the decision to keep quiet. Since they were unable to comprehend the situation, the Genins were completely bewildered and let their sensei handle it. He hands her the scroll containing alliance information and says, "Well, that was fun, I suppose. Anyway, here is the scroll she wanted you to see." She spends a minute reading the terms after opening the scroll. "I will call a council meeting today in the afternoon and go over it, the terms for the alliance and our demands for the same to happen. Naruto.san. You can stay in one of the hotels in our village. We will provide you with our answer by tomorrow morning." she tells him. They give her another bow before leaving her office to reserve hotel rooms. As they all unpack for the day, Naruto pays for the rooms. Alright, you three, listen up. We will get their reply scroll by tomorrow, so we should be leaving the village after we get their reply. We have one day in the village as they don't want random ninjas to stay for longer in their village and possibly learn about some things while sightseeing. Not that I blame them. Now you three can roam the village and explore it, but stay together, he tells them and gets a nod in return. Udon asks him, what will you be doing all this while, sensei? He creates a shadow clone to accompany them at all times and dispel in the event of an emergency before leaving them to locate a training ground. I am going to a training ground that I can find in the village somewhere secluded and do some practice. A shadow clone of mine will always be with you. After about 30 minutes of wandering around the village, he locates a spot behind a little forest with a lake close by. In order to improve his control over his transformed chakra, he made about 100 shadow clones. Of these, 50 were instructed to practice every type of chakra control exercise they were aware of, while 30 practiced all the jutsus he was familiar with, 10 for each of his 3 chakra natures. He commanded the other clones to attack him with anything as he battled them by himself after he stepped onto the water. He had to practice and redo everything to get back to the level he was on because after injecting the Shodai Hokage's blood into his body, his chakra reserves had significantly increased and his chakra control was destroyed. He had spent the entire evening doing this. In order to avoid being overpowered and wasting chakra while performing jutsus, his clones practiced advanced chakra control and executed various jutsus. It was a little challenging for him to use some destructive jutsus because he had a significant chakra boost in his system, but by the end of his training, he had it down pat. He spent hours practicing taijutsu, kenjutsu, and finally ninjutsu while fighting with his clones on top of the water. He sat down to rest on the ground for a moment while he made more shadow clones to continue honing his skills for the day because he was exhausted from the non-stop training he had been doing since the morning. As he drank water and wiped the perspiration from his face, he realized what he needed to learn next to improve his abilities. As he goes through hand signals and cuts his thumb to extract blood, he yells, "Kachiyose no Jutsu," he calls for Katsuyu by slamming his right hand to the floor. "Lady Katsuyu, could you please ask Ba-chan to give me some scrolls on basic medical ninjutsus that might help in treating wounds and other scrolls which will help me in learning medical ninjutsu on a medium level, not on the level of Ba-chan or Sakura, and a scroll on Mokuton jutsus if she has some of the jutsus written somewhere by the Shodai Hokage," he asks her and receives a nod in her head as she walks away to retrieve the items. After waiting a while and estimating that it might take a few minutes to locate the needed scrolls, he begins to form an Udama Rasengan, just like he had done in Wave Country. He was able to keep it up for a long time before smashing it into one of the trees and shattering it in two. He turned to see Katsuyu spit out 5 scrolls from her mouth after hearing a puff of smoke behind him. He didn't want to know how she managed to fit so many scrolls in her mouth because he couldn't tell. It took some time for Shizune and Lady Tsunade to find them Naruto-kun, but here you are. These 4 scrolls have the basic and medium level of Iryo ninjutsu that she thinks you should be able to learn, while the brown one with the Senju clan seal has all the Mokuton jutsus of the first Hokage, she tells him. With a brief thank you, Naruto observes her vanish. He approaches the scrolls and seals them all because he could not have allowed a significant Senju clan scroll to be left out in the open like that. As he felt something swiftly approaching him, he decided to take a short break and begin practicing basic medical ninjutsus if he had time. He notices kunais approaching him as he turns to his right. He quickly draws his katana, deflecting them all with its blade, and reaches inside his cloak to grasp the hilt with his right hand. As he waits for his assailant to emerge from the bushes, Naruto holds his katana in front of him as a precaution. Come out, come out. I know where you are hiding, don't tempt me to come and fetch you," he says. He sees Mei, the Mizukage, emerge by himself from a tree and make his way to his position. With a single motion, he sheaths his cloak back in its black leather scabbard that hangs on his behind, close to his waist, after flicking it slightly in the air with his hand. It would have been a shame if someone as handsome as you and with such a beautiful face wouldn't have any shinobi skills, but then it would be rather foolish of someone to think that the son of the Yondaime Hokage wouldn't be much of a challenge, Mei says as she approaches him. "Well, you shouldn't doubt my skills, as I mentioned earlier that I am a Jonin of my village and that rank is given for a reason and was tasked with delivering an important scroll such as the one I brought here, Mizukage Sama," Naruto says as she raises her palm. "Just call me Mei, I don't like these honorifics anyways. As you say, Mei-san. I did come across roughly 50 rough Kiri shinobis and had to kill them all. Can't have my first time as a sensei ruined." Although they looked like they were not happy with you and your reign, and their goal would have been to stop me and my team from coming here," Naruto tells her while leaning against a tree. It didn't sit well with many of the shinobis under the control of the last Mizukage that a woman was fighting against them and become the leader of the village. "I got called various horrific things during our civil war as they thought that would disturb my morale, but as you see, that didn't happen." He asks her, fed up with her not bringing up the topic, "That is very commendable of you. Not many people would be able to hold their temper and be calm about the situation. But why have you come here? Surely not to throw kunais at me and test my skills." "Ah yes, we had a council meeting the entire afternoon and have come up with our reply and the things we expect in return from the alliance. You can collect the scroll tomorrow, and if things go smoothly then maybe I will have to visit Konoha and have some talks with your Hokage. It does make me happy that another woman is leading a nation alongside me," she informs him. He observes intently as she closes the distance to 1 foot and runs her right index finger along his cheek and jawline. "Surely you could have sent any random shinobi to tell me that. No need for a cage to come here and inform me of such a small thing," he says. She speaks slowly and flirtatiously in an attempt to elicit a response from him, but to no avail. "And miss seeing such a beautiful face for a long time, possibly the last time. You know you do look a lot like your father except for these whisker marks and the red tips that you have in your blonde hair. Personally, I find it different and rather attractive," she says. "Don't tell me you don't find me beautiful. Even the kid on your team did and was ogling me for a minute. You are not a eunuch, are you? Oh, you poor soul. That would be so sad," Mei says hilariously as Naruto shakes his head in frustration and opens a water bottle from somewhere and begins to drink it. Naruto splutters a little and tries to defend himself by telling her that he has had sex, further embarrassing himself. Why would you say something like that? I am no eunuch. As a matter of fact, I have had sex once and I am. Mei is laughing at his condition and has her hand in front of her mouth. Naruto tries to change their current circumstances while scolding himself for his ignorance. He puts his right hand on her waist, draws her body close to his, presses her breasts against his chest slightly, and whispers in her ear, saying, "But I will tell you this, I do find you very pretty and stunning, probably one of the best women in those terms that I have seen, and you are brave as the cage of one of the 5 great villages. I am a foreign ninja performing my duty to the village. I can't stare or flirt with ladies who are in power in front of her ninjas and risk the possibility of ruining things for my village," he says, closing the distance between them. Her cheeks are flushed from everything he has done, and the intimacy between their faces, his hand gripping her waist tightly, and his warm breath coursing through her ears, chills her to the bone. She was amazed at how quickly he had changed from being embarrassed to bring her to this state to sprouting nonsense. She had come here to give him a little teasing and make him blush, but he had succeeded where she had failed. For the first time, a man wasn't disturbed by her flirtatious conversation or staring at her body. He leans his face away from her ear and looks at her for a while as she watches. After removing a small portion of her auburn-colored hair from her face with his left hand, he places it on her left cheek and begins to slowly lean in toward her lips. When Mei closes her hands in preparation for the kiss and slightly opens her lips for it, her heart is racing. She had a million ideas running through her head, and she was both anxious and thrilled about the prospect of being kissed for the first time in her life. Not to mention by the Konoha shinobi in front of him, who appeared to be nothing less than a god. She waited and waited until she realized that no one was holding her any longer. When she opened her eyes, she saw Naruto smirking and leaning against the tree with his arms crossed. Mei's mouth is hanging open due to her current situation. How dare he? He has the gall to do all of that, even causing me to flush and my heart to race, and then he retreats. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was waiting impatiently for the kiss to occur when he moved to stand against a tree, grinning broadly. Now that you've tried to kiss me and made me feel this way, I won't give up without kissing you. Na.ru.to.kun sings his name in her head. Mei lashes out at her current situation while staring at him and making faces in her head. He asks her, concerned that he may have gone a bit too far, snaps his fingers in her face. Are you alright? You have been staring at me for the past minute and making weird faces. Mei's reverie is interrupted when she turns to face him and snatches his collar, causing him to perspire a little. Yes, young man, she says in an angry, irritated tone, leaving his collar to cross her arms under her breasts and turning away. Normally, I am the one who makes men tremble and uneasy when talking to them, but for the first time in my life, I was on the receiving end of what it feels like to be all blushing and shy, and then you had the courage to kiss me. Not that I am against it, but then after I waited in anticipation, you didn't even kiss me, she says. I guess I took it too far, huh? Please forgive me for my recklessness if you can, Naruto says, embarrassedly rubbing the back of his head. After he apologizes to her, Mei looks at him for a moment and instantly finds his actions adorable, causing her heart to stop melting. He doesn't react when she says, "It's fine. I am not angry or anything with you, but I am very upset that you didn't kiss me. HMPH. I can't believe I was waiting for it to happen." She simply told him that she wanted to kiss him. What was he to do? Make out with her right away? It would be a little strange, but he wouldn't mind. Mei continues. "But you deserve some beating for making me all giddy inside and then standing afar, watching me like that with a face." She tries to strike him on the side of his face with her left leg as soon as she finishes speaking. Naruto was unprepared for the situation to change from one of flirtation to one of her attacking him. He lifted both his hands and used them to block her kick, but he was only just able to stop her attack. Mei put her right foot on his chest and used it as a springboard to backflip, applying force to his body to send him tumbling for a second as he rolled once on his back. She anticipated such a swift reaction from him. Naruto stands up and uses his hands to dust the dirt off his cloak. He looks at Mei and says, "You know, I think I do deserve some kind of punishment for my actions. But I will warn you, I won't be on the ground again like that. You just caught me off guard." He has a slight smile on his face. Mei yells, "I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Naruto-kun. Otherwise, it would be a bit disappointing," before charging forward for a duel. She advances to strike him in the head with a right hand jab, but Naruto blocks it with the palm of his left hand and uses his right hand to punch her hand. She doesn't anticipate his next move, but she dodges the fist by moving her head sideways when she sees it coming. He abruptly alters the trajectory of his fist and strikes the ground, proving that the punch was never for her. Mei was taken aback by his behavior, and it was too late when she realized it was a diversion. After causing her to lose her balance by sweeping her legs with his right leg, Naruto strikes her in the stomach with his other leg, sending her flying into a tree. She wasn't prepared for him to use this tactic. He first feinted a punch, then used that distraction to disbalance her by swiping one of his legs, briefly putting her in the air. During that moment, he swiftly brought his other leg forward and struck her in the stomach, causing her to fall backward into the tree. In just a few seconds, he had her on the ground close to the tree, with blood dripping from the corner of her mouth. Without delay, Naruto hurried to her side and leaned close to provide support. He had just struck a shinobi village leader, the Mizukage. All he had hoped was that she would pardon him and that no one else in the village would notice them together. Mei laughed as she got to her feet, supporting herself with her back against the tree and her arm against her stomach, bringing him back to his thoughts. Between groans and pants, Mei says, "You hit pretty hard." She received a fairly strong kick to the stomach, making it extremely painful for her to speak. Naruto says, "I am sorry. You suddenly attacked me and I got in the mood for it, and at that moment, I hit you with a hefty blow. Please forgive me," trying to avoid upsetting her or causing tensions between the villages. He wouldn't admit it, but he had grown to enjoy their conversations and her teasing, and he didn't want to sabotage what was likely to be a friendship. Hearing that he is afraid to hit like that makes Mei laugh a little. However, the entire situation also gave her the opportunity to possibly try and obtain what she desired. She advances and tumbles onto Naruto, who swiftly catches her because he can't let her fall and sustain more injuries. He wraps his hands around her waist while Mei places her hands on his chest. Lying back from his chest, she looks at him and says, "I can't just forgive you, you will have to do something for me. Na.ru.to-kun," in a singing voice. Although he wouldn't say it out loud, Naruto doesn't let go of her body because he enjoyed being in that position. The fact that she wasn't objecting to it wasn't his fault. After a few seconds, he realizes what she wants him to do, smiles a little, wipes the blood from the corner of her lips with his right thumb, and then strokes her cheek. Mei closes her eyes and finds comfort in leaning into the gentle, tender touch of his hands. She hadn't anticipated Naruto's sudden action, even though she had hinted at it. Naruto gently kisses her lips while lowering his head to her level. Mei was ecstatic after just one kiss. She had some expectations, but she didn't anticipate it being this wonderful. To intensify the kiss, Naruto draws her toward his chest with his left hand. She pulls him in by following his movement and placing her hands on the back of his neck. After a few minutes, they part ways, Mei gasping for air and their faces flushed from the closeness. She was ecstatic about the sensation of his lips on her lips, their taste, and their softness. She started to say something about it, but Naruto interrupted her with another kiss. This time, she opened her mouth slightly as he kissed her and bit her bottom lip. He took advantage of that moment to put his tongue in her mouth. She moved her tongue forward to meet his, determined not to fall behind. On a training ground, they continued to make out for more minutes by moving their lips and using their tongues. After a while, she pulls back to catch her breath, her cheeks flushed, and she glances at Naruto, who is grinning slightly. The joy in Mei's voice as she tells him, "That was amazing. I didn't expect my first kiss to be so good. I will probably remember and cherish this moment for the rest of my life," is evident. After a few seconds of laughter, Naruto kisses her on the lips. He sighs, takes his hands off her waist, and backs off a little. "I am happy that you will remember me for the rest of your life. I enjoyed it as well. You were not bad for someone who has had their first kiss," he says. Although Mei was saddened by the loss of warmth, she came to terms with it. She asks him, knowing the answer herself, but hoping to hear something different from him. "If you could make me so happy with a kiss, I wonder what else you could have done for me if you were my lover." Sighs sadly. "That can't happen though, can it?" she asks. However, when he shook his head, she received her response. "Sadly, no, we are both from different villages and cannot just leave one village to join the other. You are a leader of one of the 5 great nations and have responsibilities towards it while I am a Jonin of my village. That would have been fine if not for my father being the Yondaime Hokage. A lot is expected from me now. Many villagers see me as the second coming of the Yellow Flash. I don't like it, being compared and judged with my father, but I cannot change the opinion of the whole village," he replies with a lengthy explanation. The woman asks him if he has a lover or anything similar. "We cannot change anything, from where we were born to our parents, but I do feel rather sad when I think of all the possibilities of being in a relationship with you. It would have been exciting, although you must have someone who you love back in your village," she says. No, trust me when I say this. All of the girls around my age do not fit with my personality that well. I have been judging most of them since we were 13, but they haven't done anything to show me they have changed their personality. There is Sakura. I used to have a crush on her but got over it, and she loves Uchiha. Sasuke Uchiha. And by loves I mean loves him. She used to stalk him everywhere during our academy days," she says as she giggles at Sakura's devotion to Sasuke. "She has improved in her shinobi skills a lot and I have to give her credit for that, but that growth in age and skill hasn't changed her mentality and obsessiveness in regards to him. Then there is Ino. She was also obsessed with Sasuke. Now I don't know much about her. I haven't had the time or need to talk with her, and the same goes with the girl Tenten. But Hinata, she has a crush on me," he says while staring at her. Mei was observing him with interest. She asks him sharply, "If she has a crush on you, then why aren't you going out with her or something? You wouldn't kiss me while having a girlfriend, now would you?" Watching him wave his hands nervously in front of her and falter a little in his step. No gods, no, I wouldn't do that. Cheat on a girl like that," he tells her and observes her nod with a grin. "Anyways, she is lovely and beautiful, I can't deny that, but I don't know why, but she is so shy in front of me that she wouldn't talk to me. When I am near her, she will just watch me with a blush on her face and play with her index fingers, and if I get too close to her, she will just faint. I don't know if she will even live if I kiss her. You know, if she changes her personality a bit, gets from confident to speak to me and properly talk to me and change a few more things, I don't see why I wouldn't date her to at least give it a try." Continues. "You, on the other hand, are beautiful and stunning and have many qualities of a strong and independent woman and the perfect person I would like to have a relationship with and maybe marry sometime," he says while grinning at her. Since she had also considered him to be the ideal man for him, Mei was moved when he said all of that. She uses both hands to turn his face toward her, stands at the tip of her feet, and gives him a deep kiss for a few seconds. "Don't say that. You are making me sadder just by the thought that love isn't an option between us. Although you do deserve a reward for that sweet comment," she says. Naruto tells her, exhales heavily, "Well, I had a fun time with you, both talking and kissing you. But I do have 3 kids to look after in a foreign village, so I will take your leave." He then disperses the clones he practiced with his left hand, makes a hand sign, and shunshuns out of the ground to the hotel where he will spend the night. For several minutes, Mei is by herself as she reflects on everything she has done this evening. In all the years of her life, she had never experienced such joy and excitement. Her life had not been particularly happy after growing up in the village known as Blood Mist Village and then surviving and fighting in a civil war for many years. She had been occupied with paperwork, village maintenance, and attempting to enhance the village's reputation overall even after she was appointed Mizukage. She enjoyed simply conversing, teasing, or sparring with him for the first time in her life. And to top it all off, the kiss had been just right for her, something she would remember until the day she died. The following morning, in order to leave the village and bring a significant political scroll back to Konoha, Naruto and his temporary team had risen early. Naruto left his hotel without his black cloak, preparing to pick it up from whoever handed it to them. Without it, his chiseled arms and legs would have been a developed body. He had on a black shirt with full sleeves and a white patch around the wrists. For a distinctive look, he wore black boots and white shinobi pants underneath. The finishing touch to his ensemble was an open, blue, sleeveless coat that hung down to his ankles. The silver pendant with his parents' picture on it and the necklace that Tsunade gave him, which belonged to the Shodai Hokage, were the most important items for him to wear. In order to avoid carrying his sword on his back while traveling, he had sealed it. When he reached the village gates, he saw Terumi Mei, the Mizukage, there with Ao and Chojuro, the other two Jonins. He approached them and greeted them with his team. As Mei approaches him and takes a scroll from her clothing, he asks, "Mizukage?" "Same, Ao-san, and Chojuro-san. Why are you here so early this morning?" She gives Naruto a covert wink and says, "I did tell you that you will get our response to the Hokage's request by the morning, but did I mention who will give it to you?" He just gives her a smile and takes the scroll. He bows briefly to them and seals it for travel. He ushers his team out of the gate and leads them toward the seaport to locate a ship for travel. "Thank you for receiving us and allowing us to stay in the village. I hope our villages come on terms with each other and form an alliance. Allow us to leave," he says. Deep down, Ao is still suspicious of the Namikaze name because he was young when he was informed of the Yellow's Flash achievement. At least he has manners and respects his seniors, though I do not see someone so young as him being strong. He is what, 16 years old? I have more experience of the world than he has lived in the world, he says. Mei tells him, "You can think whatever you want, Ao, but I see a man who walks confidently and has an aura of authority around him. He doesn't want to show it, but if it comes to fighting an enemy he can hit pretty hard," and rubs her stomach on the last area because his kick still hurts a little. They begin to leave the village gates in order to complete their daily tasks. "Do you think we will be seeing him again in the future? I got a brief glimpse of his katana yesterday and wanted to have a spar with him," says Chojuro. He would be open to practicing with him as he was one of Kiri's 7 swordsmen. "Maybe, who knows what the future holds for now," Mei says unsurely. She herself was unsure of the answers to the questions. After 3 hours they had left the village a few hours earlier. After visiting the port, they discovered a ship that would transport them to Wave Country. Given that he had completed numerous A-rank and S-rank missions and had all of his parents' inheritance, Naruto had no financial difficulties. As the winds tossed his red, dyed blonde hair, he was currently on the ship's deck, staring out to sea with his hands folded on the railing. As he considered what he needed to do when he got back to the village, the ocean waves rhythmically pounded the ship below. As he turned to his right and saw the 3 genins there, Konohamaru's question, "What are you doing here, Naruto?" "Sensei," snapped him out of his reverie. "Nothing much, just looking out and thinking about some stuff." "What are you guys doing here?" they respond. Konohamaru shouts, "I brought them here because I wanted to ask you to teach us some cool jutsus and stuff that will help me beat everyone," as Moegi and Udon nod in agreement. "What do you think that I taught you tree walking just like that?" "No, as I said earlier, it would increase your control over your chakra, making it easier to learn and perform jutsus. You 3 have had only 1 day of practice in the land of waves on the technique. Once we reach Konoha, practice it more and perfect it, and then maybe I will teach each one of you something unique." He tells them and observes their screams of happiness when they hear him say that. He looks at the 3 children in front of him with a joyful smile. "When I was 12 or 13 years old, I used to be like them. When it came to studying jutsus, I didn't care all that much about the world. I only wish that you 3 could always be as happy as you are now, though, because I had to grow up with a tailed beast sealed inside of me and a group of S-rank shinobis after me. That's just wishful thinking, but since everyone ages, just make the most of this moment," Naruto muses and returns to staring at the ocean. After 5 days after a 4-day voyage by ship from the land of mist to the Wave Country, they had to run for a day to get back to Konoha. They were headed to the Hokage's office to report the mission's success after being checked in at the village gates. As they enter the office after knocking on the door, they see Sakura standing next to Tsunade as she goes through some of the documents. The Mizukage hands Naruto a scroll, which he opens and sets on her desk. Professionally, Naruto says, "Jonin Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto returning from a successful mission with his temporary team Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon, Hokage. Sama," while the 3 genins stand by his side. Tsunade picks up the scroll to examine it and tells him, "I can never picture you being so respectful, brat. Just stop it. It feels really weird after being called Ba-chan by you all the time." He gives her a cheeky, smirks, "Oh, don't worry about that. I will still call you Ba-chan, that won't change ever," smile. Tsunade gives him a frustrated look before turning back to face him. "Nonetheless, well done you 4. I will have to call a council meeting and discuss it with them on it, Tsunade informs them. But aren't you the Hokage, so can you not just look over it yourself and get it done with, she asks Moegi. Yes I am, but if I do that then I will have to hear the crying of the civilian council and 2 elders. Also, some council members like Nara Shikaku can give me good advice on some of the matters, so there is that. Now all of you out, I need time to prepare for the meeting, she continues. Sakura appeared to want to speak with Naruto before leaving the room after the 3 genins had left. After waiting for them to go, Naruto simply stood there and asked her. So Chan, it has been 2 or more weeks since Danzo disappeared when I sealed him in a scroll. Isn't anyone questioning you about his whereabouts, like the 2 other elders, or what about his root agents? As you know, Jiraiya already knew that Danzo had a hand in the Uchiha clan massacre and implanting grandfather's cells in Uchiha clan members' eyes in his right arm. So I consulted him and we decided to tell some of our top shinobis about that, she informs him and watches as he opens his mouth to speak but raises her hand to close it. Don't worry, I haven't told anyone about the attempt of the Uchiha clan in overthrowing the Hokage or that Itachi is a spy for the village. Only me, you, and Jiraiya know that, and some of Danzo's deeds have been told to Kakashi, Shikaku, Tenzo, and a few others. They don't know anything else, although I do doubt if Shikaku or Kakashi bought our explanation for killing Danzo. He asks, killing him? So you didn't tell them that he is still alive? She shakes her head in response, saying, that's fine, he will die in the future, so it doesn't matter. But what about the shinobis he trained? Wouldn't they question his sudden disappearance? That's why I told some of my shinobis the truth of Danzo and ordered them to form a small group and capture his root ninjas. Tenzo had followed Sai discreetly to find Danzo's underground base, and then we told his ninjas that Danzo is dead and gave them the option to either join or be in prison. They joined our ranks, she tells him. He did have some fine ninjas in his service, so it is good for the village. They all are suited for missions that the Anbu carries out, so maybe put them all in the Anbu Black Ops. Well, I will be leaving. I sense Sakura waiting outside wanting to talk to me. She responds to his hand wave and exits the space. He exits the building, shutting the door behind him, and finds Sakura standing a considerable distance away. She says, hello Naruto, how have you been? He asks her, I have been fine Sakura, how about you? And they resume their conversation as Sakura walks beside him. Sakura asks uncertainly, do you hate me? After telling him, I am well. I wanted to ask you something, and getting a nod in return. Do I hate you? Nah, he tells her. His response, I did find you quite annoying whenever I remembered the conversations we had, but I don't hate you Sakura, surprises Sakura and makes her secretly happy. She asks him, then what about all of the things you said to me after you returned? I always thought that I did something to upset you, wondering why he said all of that. Sighs. When I returned from my 3-year training trip you expected me to help you find and convince Sasuke to return to Konoha. So I just told you that I don't care about him and wouldn't go following you. That upset you, didn't it? He looks at her and observes her nod. You expected the same old Naruto to return, but I changed in many ways, with major changes being how I saw people in the situation around me. Tell me one thing, what did you consider us before my training trip? He asks her. Well, I saw you as a friend and a team member of Team 7, Sakura says. Then tell me, after the failed mission of returning Sasuke to Konoha roughly 3 years ago, I returned heavily injured and was in the hospital for 3 days. Did you come to visit me and see how I was doing? He inquires and awaits her response. When Sakura heard his question, she was taken aback. When he was hurt, she hadn't come to see him. She stutters, nah. Naruto and tries to respond to him, but is prevented. Don't bother trying to reply to that question and give an excuse Sakura. You also know that there is no answer to this question. Sakura shakes her head with shame. She never even checked on him, despite his constant attempts to encourage her. Outside of their team meetings, she claimed to see him as a friend, but they were still friends. I don't blame you though. Most of the rookie 12 did the same as you, but I guess they all saw me as some loser that they couldn't be much bothered about. Only Shikamaru and Choji are the ones who I had even considered friends, but both were injured in the mission so didn't visit me, he says with a slight grin. Sakura felt bad about herself because of the way she handled him. I am terribly sorry Naruto for how I was with you. I took your friendship for granted and I cannot blame you for not wanting to talk to me, she replies. Oh, it is not like I don't want to talk to you. It is just since I returned roughly 3 months back, I have been doing various missions. I am a Jonin of the village and going on solo missions or some team missions here and there. We did go on an S-rank mission to Suna, didn't we? Says Naruto. After a moment of hesitation, Sakura says, I wouldn't eat you Sakura, ask whatever you want to. I wouldn't mind it. Naruto has noticed Sakura's hesitation. With timidity, she asks, It's just that I wanted to still have you as a friend. So if it's okay with you, will you be my friend? She wouldn't have blamed him if he had declined. He smiles and answers, of course, why not? It won't kill me from having another friend, would it? Sakura was ecstatic that she had the opportunity to mend their relationship. He said, and as a good friend, let me treat you to some barbecue in this shop. And entered a barbecue restaurant down the street. He approaches the counter with Sakura at his side to request a table, but the receptionist recognizes him right away thanks to his blonde hair dyed red and blue eyes, and bows to him. Welcome Namikaze. Sama, we are blessed to have you here in our restaurant. Groans softly, please, there is no need for this. Just give us a table to sit at, he says to him. Of course, Namikaze. Sama, please follow me. I have the best seat in the restaurant for you, he says as he moves forward. Sakura laughs as she hears the conversation and turns to face Naruto, who strikes his face with his hand in frustration. Following him, they are given a large seating area that can accommodate 15 to 20 people as well as a circular table by the window that allows them to observe the people of Konoha going about their daily lives. Telling a waiter what they want, they take a seat across from one another. Sakura asks him, you don't like being called that by others, do you? It's not that I don't like it, but it doesn't feel right to me. They don't have to call me Namikaze. Sama, just because my dad was the Hokage. When I do something to earn their respect, then I won't mind it, Naruto says to her. How did your life change after you learned that the Yondaime Hokage is your father? From the window, he observes children running after each other. I was happy, filled with joy that I got to know the names of my parents as I wanted to know about it all my childhood. It does annoy me how one of the villagers has turned completely opposite in how they treat me, except for the children of course, he says. She asks inquisitively, so, do you hate them or the village in general for how they treated you? No, I don't hate them. I just can't be bothered to do that with my life being in constant danger from Akatsuki. And I also realized that I would get nothing from hating on them all eternity and trying to get revenge on the whole village. It may give me pleasure for a while, but after that, I would be left with no real motive in the world, he says and begins to consume the beef and pork that the server brought them. Sakura joins him for a little meal when her name is abruptly called. They both turn to their sides and exclaim, Sakura, Naruto. Ino is waving at them as Team 10 and Team 8 stand there with Kakashi. As they approach both of them, Naruto waves his hand slightly to each of them. Sakura asks her, Ino, what are you doing here, as the other people encircle them in their table. Sakura blushes in shame as the rest of them silently laugh and Ino pats her shoulder. Naruto teases her. Well Sakura, they're here to eat some barbecue like us and that's why they have entered the restaurant, haven't they? Sakura understood his plan and followed suit as Naruto moved to the end of his couch to make room for them to sit. Naruto watches them sit one by one, Sakura and Naruto in the corner, while some of them have brought chairs from the side to sit there. Join us, everyone, as the Rookie 9 and their senseis will have lunch together. Although I don't know how you found Kakashi Sensei and convinced him to join you guys, Naruto says. The only noteworthy aspect of that commotion was that Hinata was too anxious to attempt sitting close to him and sat at the other end, while Ino promptly took a seat next to him. Kurenai glares at Kakashi, who is still reading his book, but snatches it away from him and throws it in the trash. Kakashi was just wandering around the village reading that ridiculous orange book of his, so I told him to come with us as my and Asuma's team had our lunch planned from early, Kurenai says. He recalled something he had brought for Kakashi as he looked at the book she was holding. He opens a blue book labeled, Make-out Tactics, and hands it to him, saying, oh by the way Kakashi. Sensei, it just hit me. I have something for you. With shaking hands, Kakashi took it from him and peered inside. The strange thing was that light of some sort was emanating from the book. Then he turns to face Naruto. He asks him to confirm, it's the new, Icha, books and this one is the first edition, this is for me, and receives a nod in return. Have I told you something, Naruto? If not, then I will now. You were always my favorite student among all the ones I taught, Kakashi says, leaving the book in the bin behind as he begins to read his new book. Sakura asks, hey, what about me sensei? But Kakashi doesn't respond because he is absorbed in his new hobby and is not looking at Kurenai. Sakura perspires at the silence as everyone else laughs, with the exception of Kurenai, who was upset and furious, but this time at Naruto. Wah! How can you do that, Naruto? It beats the whole point of me throwing it away. I didn't expect to have those books and read them, she says with a rage. With a sly smile, Naruto asks, smirks, wouldn't you know why I read those books? Ku.re.9a. Chan? Kurenai understands and looks down, blushing, something only Naruto could see. Asuma asks him, wait, how would Kurenai know you read them? Kiba asks Kurenai's sensei, almost a second after Asuma, wait, why would you refer to Kurenai's sensei as a sister? He tells them, oh it's nothing. My mother was her Jonin sensei, so she saw me as a little brother through her connection with mother and told me to call her so, before turning to face Asuma. And she caught me once reading it privately while she was also looking at it. She was pretty embarrassed by what she saw in it. And look, here comes more food, please suit yourself. Kurenai thank him, while Naruto merely smiles at her. Well, if your mother taught Kurenai, then your father taught me as well. Since you call Kurenai, nay, Chan. Then I expect you to call me, Oni. Chan, Kakashi insists. Yeah, I don't think I will do that. That would be pretty weird and you are fine as a sensei, he replies. Kurenai makes fun of Kakashi's dejected expression by sticking her tongue out. The others begin to eat the food after laughing at his suffering. Asuma tells him, Naruto, I don't mean to be mean or anything, but Choji can eat a lot and that will cost you, and lets him consider the final statement. With a wave of his hand, Naruto dismissed his concern and opened his mouth to speak, but Kakashi answered first. Ha, you make nice jokes, Asuma. It would take years before he runs out of money, with both his parents being exceptional ninjas who earned a lot and his father being the youngest Hokage. Damn, now he is like them and started going on various missions regularly, he declares, and Naruto gives a slight return to verify it. Yes, exclaims Choji, thanks to Naruto, I don't have to worry much about the quantity I eat now. He had been waiting for the food, and he started eating as soon as it came. Between bites, Shikamaru asks them, what were you both doing here, Naruto, Sakura? As Sakura blushes slightly, Ino asks, yeah, tell us, Sakura and Naruto, were you both out on a date right now? Choji was the only one who stopped when the question was asked, and he looked to them for a response. Sakura was trying to keep her blush under control and was not going to speak. In her mind, Hinata repeated the phrase, please say no Naruto-kun, while her heart raced. When he tells them, we are on a date and we're going to kiss before you interrupted the beautiful moment, Ino. Choji even stops in the middle of the day. Their eyes were all wide open, and Sakura was staring at Naruto in disbelief. When he said it, Hinata's entire world fell apart, and she was about to cry because she would have done so at any moment. Naruto hit him in the shin with her legs and gestured for him to see Hinata after telling her earlier that he hadn't considered dating anyone for the time being. Kurenai eventually saw through it. Naruto made the decision to break the atmosphere by preventing her from crying in front of everyone. When he tells them, gosh, look at your faces right now. What would I not give to have a picture of it framed at my house? I was kidding, alright, we are not on a date. Hinata is incredibly relieved. Kiba asks him inquisitively, then what were you two doing here all alone? On the inside, he had hoped Naruto was telling the truth. Given her shyness and intense love for Naruto, Hinata would have sobbed and fled. After offering her consolation, he would have made an attempt to date her. Since he had once detected Kiba's feelings for Hinata and knew he was in love with her, he asks him, what do you mean alone, Kiba? Aren't we sitting in a public place and near a window where anyone can see us? Are you implying that there is something between us? Hinata was staring at Kiba, daring him to answer yes, so Naruto got what he wanted when he asked that question. He says uneasily, no, I was just curious, that is it, while she looks at him. When he says, then say that Kiba. Chan. I met her after reporting a mission to Bob. Chan, and then we sat here to eat and talk for a while. It is normal for friends to eat together and talk, isn't it? Or does everyone assume that a boy and girl eating together means that they are dating? Though I won't mind dating Sakura if that is something you want to know. Again leaving everyone stunned and forcing them to stop eating while Sakura tried to hide her red cheeks. Once more, Hinata's world, which had been repairing itself up until this point, was shattered into a million pieces. Kurenai simply sighed, aware of his propensity for humor. As Choji keeps eating, he looks to his left outside the window and sees team guys strolling down the street. Chuckles. I am joking. I am not interested in dating for a while, so no need to worry about it, he tells them. Why are you just like Kakashi, Naruto? He also likes joking or annoying people by ignoring them, Asuma asks, glancing at Kakashi, who was absorbed in his book. He read the last book 1,000 times for the plot, and is a huge fan of these books, so don't blame him. He couldn't wait to read this masterpiece in its first edition. Neji, one of the team members, had noticed Naruto and waved to him. Then he gestured for him and his team to join them. Neji nodded briefly before sharing the invitation with his team. Then Naruto heard Asuma conclude his statement and returned his focus to the group inside. Naruto asks him, you say something? As his eyebrows twitch in frustration. Kurenai had put her hand over her mouth to laugh softly, while Kakashi had a proud expression and stars in his eyes. Guy and Lee yelled at the top of their lungs, "Yosh! We're here!" shocking everyone as Kiba screamed like a girl in shock and hurried to her feet. Behind them stood Tenten and Neji, both of whom appeared ashamed. Naruto teases, "Kiba. Chan, who knew you were scared so easily?" Kiba takes a seat and looks down in embarrassment. The senses of everyone else had also been calmed and controlled. Kiba asks him, "Why didn't their shouting scare you?" Neji replies, "That's because he saw us outside the restaurant and invited us to have lunch here," and sits down next to Shino without saying anything. Before any of you Shino fans get mad at me because he hasn't said a word during the conversation, let me say that I really don't know what to write for him. My guy only talks when it's necessary, otherwise, he will just be there. Be honest with yourself, many of you didn't think of Shino while reading the conversation. I mean, why would you think of him in the first place when I haven't mentioned him? It's my fault, but I still don't know what to write for him. Guy says, "Yosh, thank you Naruto.kun for inviting us here," and he takes a seat next to Kakashi, while Lee and Tenten find a spot as well. It's fine, you were the only ones missing. Now it's changed from the Rookie 9 to the Konoha 12 having lunch together, Naruto responds. Tenten attempts to join in on their conversation, asking, "Well, what were you guys talking about then?" "Nothing, it just seemed to me like Naruto hated me for some reason, so I wanted to ask him that. It was just a misunderstanding between us and then we came here to eat and talk for a bit," Sakura informs them. The others carried on conversing with each other or with each other in general, talking about their daily lives, the success of their missions, etc. Lost in his own thoughts, Naruto had ignored it. Who knows how many tailed beasts the Akatsuki have already captured? Size. They have the one tail, and perhaps they have advanced even further. We were able to eliminate Deidara and Sasori, two of their members, which is a positive aspect of the current circumstance. Itachi has also supported us from the beginning, but if Orochimaru doesn't take over his body, he will also perish at Sasuke's hands soon. Who am I kidding? Hey, he won't let Orochimaru control him, in my opinion, as long as Itachi is still alive. However, it raises the question of how strong the Akatsuki's leader would be if their ranks included S-rank ninjas in their own right, such as Itachi, Kisame, and Orochimaru. Though he is making an effort, Sennin hasn't been able to obtain any information about him thus far. When I was 13, I couldn't even use a Rasengan to kill Kabuto, so I need something special for them. Something that would cause significant harm. I can choose to learn Mokuton jutsus, which will give me an advantage and a surprise element because nobody would anticipate it. I'll have to consider a jutsu that is especially deadly to my opponent. Looking out the window at the people of Konoha going about their daily lives, Naruto muses, maybe finishing the Rasengan that 2.San mentioned in his notes for the jutsu. The future appeared to be quite uncertain, and he had a lot on his mind, but he would simply carry on with his life and make an effort to accomplish his objectives, regardless of how difficult things got. He would never alter his youthful optimism and never give up attitude, which were the only qualities he liked about himself. He would give everything he did his all, no matter what. Kiba asks Naruto, who is dully staring at the village streets, "Oi Naruto, why are you spaced out on us like that?" Naruto tells him, nothing in general. Just thinking about random stuff," but those who closely observed him knew he was lost in thought. Fortunately, no one else asked him any more questions about the subject. Although it was clear that Ino was more interested in learning about Sasuke than anything else, she asks, "Sakura, you went on the mission to try and get information or maybe capture Sasori's spy who worked for Orochimaru. What happened there? Did you get any information on Sasuke.kun?" When Sakura heard her question, she became discouraged and sat glumly, staring at her plate. In her place, Kakashi responded to the query. "We went to the location of the bridge that Sasori gave us to meet his spy, and turns out Kabuto was the guy we were going to meet. Yamato disguised himself as Sasori to converge with him, but all the time Kabuto never was against Orochimaru. It was a setup because Orochimaru came shortly and they wanted to kill Sasori. After that, we had a fight break out with me and Yamato taking on Orochimaru while Sakura and Sai fought Kabuto. They were able to push him off and I used my Mangekyo Sharingan's ability on Orochimaru to dismember one of his arms. They were all paying close attention the information he provided. When Naruto last saw him, Itachi had warned him about the dangers of overusing the Mangekyo Sharingan. Wait, you used the Mangekyo Sharingan again? Is your vision not blurring in that eye and possibly leading to blindness? Naruto asks. As of now, wait, how do you know that the Mangekyo Sharingan can lead to blindness? I knew about the side effects of using this from watching Itachi 3 years ago when he came to Konoha and when I tested it a couple of times, Kakashi said, not disclosing the source of the information. Dude, you're in a tight spot right now. Kyuubi nags Naruto about Kakashi's question. There are times when you are just like your younger self, blabbering out things without thinking beforehand of the consequences of what you say. Instead of making things more difficult for me, you ought to be assisting me here. How should I respond? I was told this by Sasuke. Yeah, by him, Naruto stammers, looking around to see that everyone is staring at him. He told me a bit about what he knew regarding the Mangekyo Sharingan when we were fighting 3 years ago in the Valley of the End, he adds. Scoffs. That's the best response you could think of. Hey, I tried, at least. You didn't even provide a solution, and they're not going to ask Sasuke to verify the veracity of what I said. Anyway, when I found out about the Mangekyo Sharingan, I used it 3 to 4 times to see what happens, but it took a lot of my chakra. So Tsunade Sama told me not to use it when absolutely necessary. Against Idara, I used it twice and the same number of times against Orochimaru. Both the times I was utterly exhausted after using it, says Kakashi. Up until now, I had only experienced chakra exhaustion as a result of using it, but if Naruto is claiming that it could cause blindness, then I will need to exercise caution. But what is this Mangekyo Sharingan that both of you are talking about, Naruto, Kakashi? Sensei? I am hearing it for the first time, Sakura inquires of them both. Guy had never noticed any change in his Sharingan eyes before, so he was also rather clueless about this issue. Yash, my eternal rival, you never told me or used this other Sharingan of yours in our spar. What does it do, Kakashi? In an attempt to shift the subject, Naruto asks Kakashi, it's nothing, just another stage of the Sharingan. So sensei, what happened after you cut off one of Orochimaru's arms? Kakashi was recalling the mission specifics and telling them when Sakura interrupted. Since Kabuto was also getting cornered by both Sai and Sakura, they both decided to retreat and used a diversion to run away. Yamato had somehow placed a tracker on Kabuto and we used that to trace their steps to a base a few miles away from Tenchi Bridge in Kusagakure, Kakashi explained. There were many rooms in that base and we were told by Kakashi Sensei to check if Sasuke was there or get any information about him. I couldn't find him anywhere, but about 15 minutes later I heard an explosion and ran there to see Sai on the ground heavily injured and Sasuke was standing some distance away from him on a high platform. I healed Sai as much as I could and a couple of minutes later Kakashi and Yamato Sensei came to our location. We were in a tough spot. Sai was injured and I couldn't fight for more than 5 minutes after using my Mangekyo Sharingan. On the other hand, both Orochimaru and Kabuto were also injured, but it didn't come down to fight as they went away. It wouldn't have been possible for us to defeat them and try and bring Sasuke back, says Kakashi. Sakura's voice breaks slightly as she explains her attempt to convince Sasuke to join her. We did try to reason with him to come with us for 5 minutes or something before Orochimaru and Kabuto came and they all went away. I I really tried to make some connection with him to bring him back, but he would not budge and come back, she says. According to Kiba, they could have taken Sasuke, but Kakashi Sensei couldn't. Yamato Sensei and Sakura fight against Sasuke before Orochimaru and Kabuto came and captured Sasuke. Surely he is not so strong that 2 people couldn't defeat him, he says. He turns to see Naruto shaking his head after hearing someone snort at his remark. The fact that Naruto took his remark as a joke infuriated him. What, Naruto, do you think I am wrong? I believe that they would have been able to capture him and Kakashi Sensei could have given some support in between, he snaps. You are wrong in your assumption, Kiba. Why? Because like Naruto-san, Sasuke-san has also trained under a Sannin for the past 3 years. We saw the results of Naruto-san's training against Kakashi Sensei, so we should believe that both of them are on the same level in terms of skill. Sasuke-san was naturally good as a shinobi even in the academy days, Shino replies in a monotone voice. Nobody could argue that he was incorrect. Neji interrupts, effectively cutting Kiba off. There is also the fact that Sasuke could have tried to kill Sai in that fight. I do not know who he is personally, but he is Hidden Leaf Shinobi and hence a comrade of ours, Neji says. With their own opinions on the matter, everyone sat quietly around the table. Whispers softly, if only you were there, Naruto, you are strong enough to help us bring Sasuke back. We would have had him here in the village with us, sitting here and eating together, Sakura murmurs as she examines the meal. Around her, she wasn't paying attention. Everyone was silent, so she could be heard clearly. Naruto declares, "It wouldn't have worked, even if I was there and we got Sasuke back to the village, it would have made no difference. Rather, it would have made him more outraged at us," Sakura said, raising her head to meet his gaze. "What do you mean by that, Naruto? Sakura is right, we all saw what you were capable of, and if you weren't so stubborn about it then he would have been here," Ino says to her friend's relief. The two of them had annoyed Naruto. Why was he supposed to bring Sasuke back, or assist in doing so? They expected him to watch out for him even though he was not his damn babysitter. They still don't get it, even though he has made it clear that he doesn't want to be involved in these issues. He would have said something hurtful to both of them, but he chose to keep quiet because Sakura had already apologized to him and there was no use in starting over with her. What I am saying, Ino, is that he is hell bent on having his revenge on Uchiha Itachi. That's why he left the village in the first place. If we got him back here, he would be locked up in prison for months as he deserted the village. That would make his revenge more difficult to obtain and he would isolate himself from everyone here. Do you understand? Naruto nods slowly as she understood what was happening. Sakura, just get this, she responded fully when he mentioned her identity. When Sasuke gets his revenge on Itachi, he would have completed the one thing that drives him and is his goal. With nothing on his mind after that, there is a possibility that he may come back to the village. So wait patiently till then. Sakura reads what he said for a while, and when she sees his reasoning, she smiles broadly and thanks him. You're giving her the false impression that the Uchiha will return. You know that what you discovered in that snake's laboratory could have serious consequences and influence his way of thinking, the Kyuubi says. I needed to distract her from the idea that I could have brought him back if I had been present. That would never have worked. He will be unhappy if we keep him here and will look for ways to get out and start trouble until he returns to Konoha himself. However, what's to say that someone else won't find out if Orochimaru was aware that Itachi's true allegiance was with us and that Danzo and the elders had given him the order to murder the clan? That child is easily tricked and taken to anyone's side, I'm telling you. The Uchiha went to him after Orochimaru promised him power after his brother had been deceiving him for a long time. He can be easily convinced to do what the person who told him the truth wants him to do if they tell him the truth. In their pursuit of vengeance, Uchiha fail to recognize the harm they inflict on others. Madara has gone to unthinkable lengths for his younger brother, as I have witnessed. Naruto went to pay for the lunch after informing everyone that he would be going home. They all went their separate ways, one by one, after him. The following day Naruto was instructed to meet Tsunade in her office, so he rose early that day. Yesterday, she had called Katsuyu to let him know about it. All shinobi were required to rest for a week after completing an S-rank mission, but he refused to do so. He might have learned new jutsus or gone to his training ground to practice. Naruto had the wild notion that he might also approach Lee for a taijutsu spar, but before he could make up his mind, Tsunade had called him. After getting ready and eating a quick breakfast, he simply showed up in her office in a yellow flash, shocking Shizune there, without even bothering to leave through the house door. After saying, "Yo Ba-chan, you called me early morning today," Naruto looks around the room and notices that Yamato and Kakashi are present. Kakashi wanted to talk to you about furthering your training and he has an idea that might help you. Tsunade informs him of this. Naruto turns to face Kakashi and gives him a raised eyebrow. The last time Jiraiya-sama was here, he told me some places where you could improve, and one of them is improving or completing the Rasengan. So, I and Tenzo over here will be helping you with it, Kakashi informs him. Naruto looks sideways and sees Yamato, Tenzo facepalm. That's Finn, wait, isn't his name Yamato or something? Why are you calling him Tenzo? Naruto asks. Kakashi senpai, how many times have I told you not to call me that? Size? Just call me Yamato Naruto. Tenzo is the name I used in the Anbu Black Ops unit. Yamato tells him. Naruto nods in agreement and was about to inquire further about their plans when Tsunade cut them off. I have work to do here, Tsunade says, continuing to read and sign various documents. Get out of here and do whatever talking you need to do outside the room. Kakashi tells him, meet us in Training Ground 7 Naruto, and he and Yamato depart using a leaf shunshin. 5 minutes later, Naruto gets there. Now that you are here, let's continue. The Rasengan is incomplete a rank ninjutsu that Sensei created. We or rather you Naruto will be completing it, Kakashi informs him. Naruto ponders, I know that much Kakashi. Sensei. 2.San mentioned that it was incomplete and an element could be added to it, before kicking a random rock away. Yes, an element precisely wind nature would be a lot easier to do so, but one must have absolute mastery over the wind element. Do you have complete control over it? Kakashi inquires. Yeah, I did perform all the training methods required to have complete control over all my elements when I went on the training trip. For my wind chakra nature, it was arrow. Sennin who told me whatever he knew about I had to cut a leaf in half using wind chakra, then cut a rock into many pieces forcing my wind chakra through it, and in the end, I had to channel it through a kunai and my katana, making their blades sharper and longer. Naruto recounts to them, recalling everything he had done. Konoha doesn't have many Fudan-style users in its ranks, with the best of them being Sarutobi Asuma. Suna has many shinobis who have a wind chakra nature. So we never truly know the correct techniques required to master the element, Yamato responds. Kakashi pulls out his book to read while lying around. Before coming here I did ask Asuma if he knew anything that would help Naruto in mastering the wind nature element, and he said that using wind chakra to cut a waterfall will help him, so that is what we will do for now, he says. Kakashi displays no emotion as he blatantly ignores him, saying, "While I get it that you will be here sitting idly and giving me some advice in between, and I don't want to be rude, but what is Yamato-san doing over here?" As Naruto removes the pendant and necklace he is wearing and takes a moment to examine the jade necklace, Yamato tells him of his involvement. "If you exert yourself in the training and release the Kyuubi's chakra in the process, I am here to help you regain control over yourself and your mind. With my Mokuton Jutsu and the necklace of the Shodai Hokage, I will be able to suppress it." Shodai. Sama's ability to restrain any tailed beast was enhanced by the necklace. Indeed, they are unaware of my ability to use Mokuton Jutsus, not that I am aware of any at the moment. Who knows that I can use Mokuton Keke? Genkei up to this point. It's only Ba, Chan and Arrow. Sennin, nobody else knows. After giving it some thought, Naruto looks ahead to see Yamato build a waterfall in the training area and a horizontal wooden branch that crosses the waterfall for him to stand on. It will come out sometime in the future, but it is best if I can hide it for a while as it will save me the headache of answering everyone's questions, Naruto says. As of right now, my maximum ability to control Kyuubi's chakra is 3 tails. Even though I can't use the 9 tails chakra at a higher level, that shouldn't interfere with my training. Is there a particular method by which I can use and direct Kyuubi's chakra? Naruto takes off his gray fishnet under his plain white shirt, revealing his Anbu black jeans. He also takes off his headband, allowing some of his blonde, spiky hair to fall loosely. His hair had grown a lot, but the headband held it back. Now, the red, tipped hair partially covered his right eye. As he leaps onto the branch, the silver pendant and the Shodai Hokage's necklace are both loosely hanging in midair. Naruto collects wind chakra in his hands and applies it to the water's surface while holding both of his hands on it. The water flow is briefly disrupted by the wind chakra, laced hands, but eventually stops due to the force of the falling water. Naruto takes a step back, crosses both of his fingers, and makes about 25 clones. As they continue working with their creator on the necessary exercise, he doesn't need to convey any messages to them. They all gathered wind chakra, focused it on their hands, and attempted to open a hole in the waterfall. In the meantime, close to the land of fire as they both enter the land of fire, Hidan asks his partner, Oi Kakazu. Where are we going now? We just captured the 2 tails, shouldn't we be sealing it? They are preparing for the sealing process which will take time. Till then we are going to a temple in the land of fire. I have some work there. Hidan looks up at the sky and exclaims, Aha! You are also getting swayed by the religion of God. Jashin. Sama. I have been able to convert one of the friends into your followers. Shut up. Can't you skip always preaching about your God and religion for once? We are going to kill someone for a bounty in the temple, Kakazu said, annoyed by his partner's incessant babble about his belief system. He pulls out a map to see which way they're going to the temple. Oye, you're not after money, are you? You'll go to hell if you kill a monk for something like that. I don't care about things like that. I have been left in charge of the Akatsuki finances. Money is the key that opens all doors. Money is the religion I follow. Bah. There you go again. Money this and money that. You are no fun. Maybe some of the other monks in the temple would want to convert to the Jashin religion. Be quiet, Hidan. It will not take much time for me to kill you right here. Groans. I am really sick of how lousy you are at conversation. A nice trip is totally ruined if you get stuck traveling with a boring person. We are not traveling for fun. Just shut up and keep walking, we are late. I don't have the time to join in your diversions. And besides, at some point after the mission, looks at Hidan, I'll send you to the next world so that you won't get bored in this one. Not that again. Oh, man, I hope our next opponent has enough fight in them so I can let off some steam. At the moment, Naruto had been working on the current task for several hours straight, making constant attempts to succeed. Due to the piercing and sharp nature of wind chakra, if one of the clones accumulated too much of it, his clones would be dispelled. He required the right quantity of wind chakra to stop the waterfall's flow, as well as the required mastery and control to stop it for an extended length of time. You have been doing it for some time. What do you get from it? Kakashi looks on as Naruto approaches a nearby tree and sits for a while. Okay, Naruto, stop for now and get some rest, he says. I do know how to channel wind chakra and then try and cut the waterfall, but it's just not happening. My clones blow up if they put too much chakra and nothing happens if they put less chakra into it. I have to create a steady amount of chakra to break the flow. In order to accomplish the task at hand, Yamato tells him, for this training, you need to instantly create a change in chakra nature in a large amount, or else you won't be able to cut the waterfall. Tell me, Naruto, what do you know about the change in wind chakra nature in general? His explanation left both Kakashi and Yamato greatly impressed. The wind change in chakra nature splits chakra into two and grinds them together. It is achieved by utilizing two opposing chakra currents, which are ground against each other in such a manner that they sharpen one another into fine pieces, he explained. Heck, aside from Asuma, they had never heard anyone so clearly describe the shift in wind chakra. Naruto, you never cease to amaze me. You are here with a thorough understanding of what needs to be done, whereas your younger self could not have even comprehended this explanation. For the sake of his student and his sensei's son, Kakashi reflects proudly, I couldn't have given you that thorough description of it. Pulling out one of his kunais, Naruto hurls it at the tree in the area. He returns the kunai to his hand and applies wind chakra to it. Normal kunai was able to penetrate that tree over there, but when I do this, he says. Wind chakra is used to increase the sharpness of bladed weapons, so much so that in the hands of experienced users even small blades are capable of piercing substantial rocks easily, he says, flicking his wrist as he watches the kunai pass through the tree. Naruto gives them a quick nod and returns to finish the training. I have to say, Naruto, that was a splendid answer to my question. Many jonins don't know the answers to such questions in Konoha. Well, you know everything about the concept behind it, so continue with your training. After 3 days, finally, I have done this exercise. Ah, thank God, I was going mad doing the same thing over and over and not getting results. Naruto shrieks with joy. After working on it for a few days, he became a little frustrated when he didn't make any new progress. But after a great deal of effort, he had succeeded. Well done, Naruto. Now that you have completed this process, we can move on to the last part of the training that is required, says Kakashi. He and Yamato had been observing his training progress, little by little. So what's next for me now, Kakashi? Sensei, I have a good grasp over the change in wind nature of my chakra, now I just add it into the Rasengan? Kakashi constructs a Rasengan with just his right hand, saying, we'll get to that, but first we will go over some of the factors that are present when doing the Rasengan or other jutsus. Rasengan is a jutsu with only the change in chakra form taken to the extreme. You do know that, right? Hi, change in chakra form, or shape transformation as it was written in the book I read, is a sophisticated type of chakra control that entails regulating the shape, movement, and strength of one's chakra as well as figuring out the scope, size, and intent of a technique. Rasengan is the pinnacle of shape manipulation. It doesn't require the use of hand seals. I shape it into a sphere by compressing and rotating the power of my chakra, Naruto says, mentioning all the knowledge he possesses on the topic. Kakashi taunts him with an eye smile, saying, you know I still sometimes find it hard to believe that all of this is coming from you. Sighs, I guess I have to get used to it. Although Naruto's eyebrows twitch in response to his statement, you are correct though. A jutsu with a change in chakra nature added to the change in chakra form, for example, Kakashi says, demonstrating two hand signs, ushi, U, which causes electric currents to flow from his hands. Chidori. Not only does this jutsu use the change in chakra nature to shift my chakra nature into lightning, but it also uses change in chakra form to transform it into an electrical discharge and control its range and power. Since he didn't have many lightning style jutsus at his disposal, Naruto asks him, you once said, Sensei, that I won't be able to do the Chidori without the Sharingan. Why is that so? He would have benefited from its inclusion. I wasn't able to combine the Rasengan change in chakra form with my lightning change in chakra nature. So I created the Chidori, but there was a problem in using it, which Minato Sensei pointed out. During my first mission as a Junin, I used this jutsu to try and defeat an enemy. However, due to the speed requirements needed to use this jutsu at its full potential, It created a tunnel vision that blocked out everything except for the person I was aiming for. The Sharingan helped me here, giving me the ability to predict the opponent's movements, which helped me in overcoming the problem. Naruto was able to identify the issue and understand what might have been wrong with Kakashi. He would experience tunnel vision and be oblivious to everything else around him if his main goal was to find someone with the Chidori. Any strong opponent could suffer a fatal injury from that, and in certain situations, they might even die. Furthermore, his opponents are not your typical shinobis. They're all S-rank shinobi. One could argue that he had terrible luck from birth. As he listened intently, Yamato's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Listen up, Naruto. When you take chakra and add in change in chakra form and change in chakra nature, the attack power of a shinobi rises dramatically. Although, there are hardly any shinobi who can use both changes in chakra form and nature, he said. From the training that you have done with Jiraiya, Sama, and the one which you did, you have obtained the wind change in chakra nature. And you already possess the ultimate change in chakra form. The Rasengan. It is already an A-rank jutsu, and if I am able to add my wind chakra into its constitution, then I will have an S-rank jutsu with me. Excellent. I needed a jutsu that could hit hard, Naruto beams. He has been in need of this for some time, and this jutsu might end up being his secret weapon in future battles. Alright then, Naruto, create many clones and try to add wind chakra into the Rasengan. After nodding to Kakashi, Naruto produces a large number of shadow clones to occupy the space, who subsequently work on mastering the A-rank jutsu. While Yamato sits cross-legged on the ground to watch Naruto in case things go wrong, Kakashi lies down on the ground, pulls out his book, and begins reading. At the gates of the village, Chunin, Azuma, and Katetsu, the two eternal gate guards, were once again spotted performing their recognized duty of watching over the village gates. While Azumo's head was resting on the table, Katetsu was playing idly with his pen, flipping and rotating it on his fingers. Groans. Man, this is so boring. Katetsu, do something to entertain me. He looks sideways and sees Azuma stretch up a little in his seat. What do you mean do something? Do I look like some kind of performer here? I am also dying here by sitting idly here in this sunshine, he responds. Is there nothing going on in the village currently? Has there been no recent news for us to discuss? Let me think about it. There hasn't been much going on recently in the village. The last news that spread like wildfire amongst the shinobi and civilian populace was about Naruto Uzumaki being the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Ah yes, that Gaki whom we saw in the Chunin exams beat the Hyuga prodigy, and he goes by the name of Uzumaki. Namikaze Naruto now. He has taken his father's name as well. That will bring him many enemies. With his head lowered in shame, Katetsu asks incredulously, did you not hear from others in the bar last time we were there? They said that the Godem Hokage took his test on his return and he was able to beat Kakashi in a spar, and he even got promoted to a Junin before us. Yeah, they also told us that he beat one of the Akatsuki members with Kakashi when he went to the rescue of the Case Cage. I think he is very strong if he was able to do this much. His teacher is the legendary Gama Sanin. What do you expect from one of his students? His last student was the Yondaime, and now his son is also trained under him. Why are we only Chunins? We saw that kid in front of our eyes as a Genin take part in the Chunin exam, and the next thing we hear about him, he's a fucking Junin. As he looked out the window, Katetsu asked his partner, most of the time we are stuck here doing guard duty and it's not even interesting. Hey Azuma, do you see someone in the distance running toward us? To get a better view, Azuma puts his hand on his forehead to block out the sun. Yeah, it's someone who looks in a hurry to come here. Get your weapons out, Katetsu, just in case we need them, Azuma says, pulling out a kunai. The two of them approach the runner a little ahead of him to question him. Azuma yells at him as he approaches, stop right there, state your reason to come to the village hidden in the leaves. When they get a better look at him, they see a bald man dressed in white, most likely a monk. Pants. I am a monk from the fire temple in the land of fire. I need to speak with your Hokage, please, it is urgent. Azuma gives Katetsu a brief glance before they both nod. He motioned for an Anbu to arrive immediately, and the monk was easily escorted to the Hokage's office. The Tower of Hokage Tsunade explains what the temple monk had told her, saying, I see, the Akatsuki attacked your temple and they even got Chiriku. The bad news was that the Akatsuki were now in the land of fire, which might indicate that they were there to help Naruto with the tailed beast. But she couldn't understand why they would pursue Chiriku. I was assigned patrol duty by my seniors, and by the time I returned, everything there was destroyed and it was too late, says the monk. We cannot let them leave the land of fire. This is an opportunity for us to possibly kill 2 more members of the Akatsuki as well. Shizune, bring the 10 newly formed platoons to the roof of the Hokage Tower immediately. Hi Tsunade. Sama. Shizune quickly leaves the room to inform the platoon members that the Hokage has ordered an urgent meeting. After 10 minutes, Tsunade went to the tower's roof and discovered that everyone had already arrived. There were 10 4-person teams that she had assembled based on their shinobi prowess and performance histories. Sarutobi Asuma, Nara Shikamaru, Higame Katetsu, and Kamizuki Izumo made up one team, while the other 2 members of Team 10 and 2 Junins were chosen at random. Now that everyone's here, listen carefully because I will not repeat it. Today morning we got a report from a monk of the Fire Temple that they were attacked by the Akatsuki and they have killed everyone there. I need every one of you to go and search for them all over the Land of Fire. They should not be allowed to roam freely here. Are there any questions? Tsunade explains to them the assignment at their hands. Asuma raises his hand and nods for him to continue as she turns to look around. Tsunade sighs softly at his question. Shiriku, a former member of the Guardian Shinobi 12, should be there. Is there any news about him? She should have known he would ask that. She glances at the monk to her left, who is staring at the ground with his eyes closed. Asuma had been shocked by the news, and his eyes were wide. When I reached the temple, a lot of my fellow monks were dead and some were heavily injured as well but alive. I asked them where Chiriku Sama was and they told me that the 2 Akatsuki members had killed him. He had become close to Chiriku during his 3 years away from Konoha, and he was saddened by his friend's passing. For the pride of Konohagakure and most of all, for the safety of the people in the Land of Fire, we can't allow them to rampage any further. Don't let them out of the Land of Fire, no matter what. Dismissed. To locate the 2 Akatsuki members, each of them set out on their own to explore a different area of the Land of Fire. They were heading toward the village gates when Asuma and his group were spotted leaping across rooftops. Asuma asks them, "We will start searching for them by going to the Fire Temple first. From there we can get more information about them and then we can try and trace their footsteps. Is that understood?" Each member of his team nods, and he says, "Let's go then." They all begin jumping across various tree branches toward the temple before he gives the order. As Katetsu and Izumo run alongside them and listen, Shikamaru asks, "Asuma. Sensei. Do you know this Chiriku person from the Fire Temple because from your reaction to his death it seemed like that?" Asuma smiles as he recalls the good old days. "Oh, I haven't told any of you about him, have I? He was my brother in arms when I left the village to join the Guardian Shinobi 12. He was the first one to connect with me there," he says. After 3 days of searching, the issue wasn't that Shikamaru watched helplessly as Hidan drove a rod through his own heart. Asuma was under the influence of his jutsu, which was the source of a lot of trouble. He saw Hidan standing in a kind of blood circle, his body displaying skeleton bones, and Asuma dropped to his knees, blood gushing from his mouth. His legs gave out from the battle they had been a part of all day, and he collapsed as he ran in the direction of his sensei. Rewind 3 days had passed since the Hokage assigned them the task of tracking down and murdering the 2 Akatsuki members. They had visited the temple and discovered some new facts. They had guessed that the 2 Akatsuki members would have brought Chiriku's body to a bounty collection office after reading it from the bounty book. They had to search 5 bounty collection offices that they could have visited, according to a map of the Land of Fire. After 3 days of searching for them, they resumed their search after taking a short break, making today the 4th day of the hunt. They are headed to the last possible location of the Akatsuki. Are we certain that we will find both of them here? This is the last of the offices and thus far we haven't had any success, Izumo asks. Asuma stated with complete assurance, "We will find them there, we have to find them there otherwise I don't know what I will do," which somewhat inspired the 2 Eternal Guard Chunins to locate them. It was Shikamaru who noticed the desperation on his face. "If you are in a desperate search for the 2 Akatsuki members, I believe this Chiriku monk held great significance for you, Asuma. Sensei. Don't act rashly because you feel the need to kill them, even if we do find them." After 30 minutes of running in total silence, they came out of the forest and were confronted by a building. Upon closer inspection, they noticed. When they all get a good look at one of the Akatsuki guys, Asuma yells, "Wait here," and makes a halting gesture with his hand. "There you see him in that dress, black with red clouds. That's our guy," he says. He had a big triple-bladed scythe on his back and was seated on the building's steps. Shikamaru says, "Okay, I have worked out a plan but you will have to follow it as I describe," as he scans the area for the other Akatsuki member. Hidan was seated outside the collection office on the steps. The basement smelled of rotten flesh, so he had to leave because he couldn't stay there. He was unable to comprehend Kakazu's obsession with money, which constantly prevented them from apprehending a Jinchuriki. The sound of footsteps behind me reached his ears. He was saying, "Took you long enough, Kakazu." I was dying of bore, when he heard shurikens being drawn and turned to see 4 of them approaching him. He swiftly pulled out his scythe and blocked them all. In order to put some distance between himself and the Konoha shinobi he saw attacking him, he leapt back a little. Shikamaru proudly exclaimed, "Fell right into the trap. Kage main no jutsu, shadow imitation technique, success," and held Hidan in a fixed position with his shadow while his hands were in the ram sign. In order to trap him, he had scaled the tower and hidden there. Asuma exclaims, "Now Izumo, Katetsu." Instead, when Hidan looks down, he sees that the man on the roof is holding his shadow, preventing him from moving. He notices 2 shadows approaching from opposite directions, and 2 kunai blades pierce his vital areas in the next second. As the blood poured from his wound, Hidan exclaimed, "Ouch! That hurts. What is it with you jerks trying to kill me?" The 4 shinobis stared at him incredulously, the shock visible on their faces. Izumo attempted to twist the blade further, but all he could do was shout in discomfort. Ignoring their confused expressions, he yells at them, "Oi, oi, stop that. Don't you know how painful this is? Ho! How is this possible? We both aimed for your vital spots. You shouldn't be alive." Katetsu begins, waving a little. Izumo asks, "Is this guy immortal?" Because he hasn't even witnessed him be affected by being pierced through 2 important places. Hidan asks them, "Isn't it obvious? So, who are you guys?" Before examining Asuma's sash, which is awarded to the person who spent time defending the Land of Fire's leader. "That mark, I saw it on one of those monks we killed." Shuriku. Asuma pulls out his double kunais and surrounds them with a blue aura using wind chakra. "We are Konoha shinobis and were ordered to capture one of you and kill the other. Seeing as you were alone, we went after you first with the intent to kill, but you were tough, as expected from the members of Akatsuki." This is the Akatsuki, isn't it? What a crazy talent. Not to mention that Naruto is facing 10 of them. Shikamaru's mind was racing to come up with a potential solution when he felt someone approaching from behind him. "My Kage Nui no Jutsu, shadow sewing technique, won't work on him." A loud bang shattered parts of the building's top, sending dust and rocks flying in all directions. Asuma was about to call for Shikamaru when the individual in question leapt out of the smoke and landed a considerable distance away. Hidan yells, "Ha! The jutsu's broken," and retrieves his scythe using the rope that was fastened to it. Shikamaru was joined by Izumo and Katetsu, and Asuma soon followed. Kakazu tells him, "The guy in the middle, he also has a bounty on his head. Hidan, we are going for his bounty as well," when he is in front of the bounty collection office, as he observes the quartet of Konoha shinobi. "Kakazu, you stay out of this. I will kill all of them for my ritual and offer them to Jashin Sama. I'll give you the money." Hidan is the one with the scythe, and Kakazu is the one with the green eyes, isn't he? "Very well, but don't get careless, you will die." Hidan gloats, forming a circle and then a triangle inside of it with his legs and the blood on the ground. "Hey, don't give me that, as if they could kill me. Let them try," he says. Describe this diagram. He made a reference to performing a ritual and giving us some Jashin. Where can the Akatsuki locate members like these? Shikamaru wonders what the circle might signify. The end of the flashback. Everything that could have gone wrong from that point on went wrong. He had the ideal plan. Divert the person seated on the steps so he would fall into the trap. He needed to be immortal in order for Izumo and Katetsu to finish him after he was restrained by his clan's jutsu. Shikamaru believed that his friend Shuriku was the reason why Asuma had also been acting strangely. They tried every tactic he had come up with, but ultimately it didn't work out because the man simply refused to die. They all had limited stamina and chakra, and they could all die, but Hidan was immortal. Just to avoid dying from them, that idiot took some of their shurikens in Kunai's head. The most unexpected turn of events occurred when he used his scythe to nick Asuma's cheek and then licked his blood off of it. Instead, the right side of his face and arm were burned after Asuma covered him in ash and used a Kaiden jutsu to burn him. His skin had turned the color of a skeleton all over. Even though he had stabbed himself in the leg, Asuma felt the impact. Asuma's and Hidan's bodies were cursed to be connected by Hidan's jutsu. Asuma felt whatever pain he left behind. Hidan had developed a theory about the operation of his jutsu based on all the words he had used to praise or taunt himself. Jashin, God, Ritual, Curse, and Preparation. His attack range was increased by the blade's 3 blades, even though it wasn't designed to deliver a single, powerful blow. He could curse them after obtaining their blood, causing his wounds to connect with those of his opponent. Using his clan's method, He had confined him and removed him from that circle. Asuma severed Hidan's head after breaking the curse, but he survived. The other member of Akatsuki then entered and connected his head to his body. That's how he got here. Kakazu had Azumo and Katetsu by their throats, his hands tied to the limbs with strings, and Shikamaru was on the ground, helpless, watching Asuma slowly die from his wounds. Weakly, he said, "Asuma," and attempted to stand up, but his legs would not budge. Kakazu threw Azumo at him, causing them to tumble and fall to the ground as he shakily stood up and charged at them. "Gosh, I'm so weak. Oi Kakazu, I am done here." He turned to watch a chubby man wearing red combat gear remove his kill. As one of the other Junin attacks Kakazu with a kunai, forcing him to release his grip on Azumo and Katetsu, Ino says, "Shikamaru, we are here to help you," and assists him in standing up. With the reinforcements watching the Akatsuki members for potential attacks, they all reassemble atop the tower. "Reinforcements, huh?" Hidan exclaimed. "Huh? It doesn't matter, we will kill you all as well. Let's go Kakazu," and prepared to charge at everyone on the building's rooftop. Hidan. "Kakazu. Reporting to the base is your task. The time has come to seal the two tails." "What, now? Can't you wait for a little longer? The fun is about to begin," Hidan asks. He wouldn't have the opportunity to offer so many people as simultaneous sacrifices to his lord. "It doesn't matter. Whatever you are doing right now is secondary to the sealing." "Hi, leader. Sama." As they both depart with a shunshin, Kakazu says, "Until then, take care of him. I'll be back for my bounty." "Shoji. Quickly take Asuma. Sensei and get out of here, Ino. Go with him and do whatever medical ninjutsu you can to make sure he is alive." Shikamaru tells them both. Asuma was barely alive. His pulse was becoming sluggish. Asuma slowly says, "No, need, I am on my last breath." Even you realize that, as Shikamaru rests his head beneath his hand. After quickly stabilizing him with her medical ninjutsu, Ino examines his body and discovers that he has 4 critical piercings. Soon after the sun is obscured by clouds, it grows darker as thunder roars through the sky. "You know, I think now I realize what Otou-san meant that day, when he asked me if I knew who the king of the village was. I would like to say something to the 3 of you, my last words to you." Asuma looks at her and says, "Ino, you are strong, willed and determined. You have come a long way from where you started under me. Take care of these 2 for me." With tears running down her cheeks, she nods. He was aware of his student's rivalry with Sakura, which inspired her to keep getting better. "And don't let Sakura beat you, in ninjutsu or love," he said. "Shoji, you have a big heart. You don't want to hurt anyone and you care for your comrades. Become strong Shoji, have more confidence in yourself and your abilities." When Shoji said, "Hi, sensei," he couldn't stop his tears from streaming down his face. "And, try to diet once in a while and be healthy." "That would be impossible, but I will try for you," he says, massaging the sleeves of his shirt to soothe his eyes. "And, Shikamaru, you have great intellect, and sharp instincts as a shinobi. You could become a great shinobi. Hey, you're lazy so you would find that troublesome as well," he says with a weak grin on his face. "I never once beat you at shogi." "Oh yes, the story about the king. Bring your ear closer," he asks, revealing to him the identity of the real king of Konoha, who must be given the highest protection. He asks him, "I want to smoke one last time." The cigarette falls from Asuma's mouth to the floor as Shikamaru lights it for him and says, "I am very proud to call you my team, no matter wherever life takes you. Don't forget that you will always be a part of Team 10. Asuma takes a big puff from the cigarette. "Sensei!" Ino exclaims, resting her head on his chest and sobbing uncontrollably. As Shikamaru gets to his feet and holds the lighter tightly in his hands, while the other Junins stand there and watch Asuma take his final breath with sorrow, Shoji was also unable to contain his tears. With each second that went by, the raindrops began to fall more quickly. Training day 5 on this 5th day, Naruto got out of bed early to continue his training. He had been trying to finish the Rasengan almost constantly, but as his sensei stated, it wouldn't have been that simple. He climbed out of bed and headed for the bathroom. He looks at himself in the mirror once and splashes water on his face to relieve his fatigue and slackness. His appearance is nothing out of the ordinary. When his spiky, rich yellow, blonde hair, which also had red tips, fell freely over his face, it partially obscured his right eye. He recalls the enormous statue of Uchiha Madara, which covered half of his face with his hair and revealed his right eye. He looked good in it, but Naruto didn't. It was preferable for him if his hair covered part of his eye rather than hiding the blue sphere underneath it entirely. His hair reached the middle of his back when he wasn't tying it, but he cut it short after returning from his training trip so that it only reached his shoulders. He walks over to the shower, takes off his dress, and enters. He turns on the knob and enjoys the sensation of the hot water as it runs over his body. He is thinking deeply about his training as he lets the water run over his body. Where am I making mistakes? I've been working on it for the last 4 days, but I'm not getting anywhere. It just blows up on me every time I make a Rasengan and add my wind chakra because I can't control its power increase. To create a new jutsu, I must increase the wind chakra no matter how little I begin adding, but I am unable to do so. Its power must first be controlled in some way. I'll try to do something different today, I'll admit. With one towel draped around his neck and another around his waist, he exits the restroom. In order to resume his training, he quickly gets dressed. He's dressed in navy blue pants and a fishnet vest. He never had to worry about forgetting his kunais or other belongings because they were sealed on his wrists. He's wearing a light purple full-sleeve shirt over the vest. Wearing particular clothing is pointless because it will be ruined or soiled during the training. I don't have to wear the black cloak or draw my sword when I'm not on a mission. He then eats a modest breakfast consisting of bread, bacon, and eggs with juice before sprinting to the training area. As he lands on the ground after leaping from a tree, he notices Yamato Sensei conversing with Asuma. Furthermore, Kakashi Sensei wasn't there. When Yamato senses Naruto approaching, he tells him, "Ah, Naruto, I was looking for you. I am to inform you of Kakashi Senpai's absence. We won't be doing any training today." Naruto asks, "Why? What did Asuma tell you?" "I got told of this now, but the Hokage and other important officials got the news yesterday late evening. Sarutobi Asuma is dead." For a brief moment, Naruto believed he had misheard him, and he waited. The truth was confirmed when he showed no other reaction. Asuma Sensei had passed away. He was unsure of what to say or how to feel about this. Naruto asks, "How? What happened?" Naruto was shocked to learn that Asuma, Shikamaru, Azumo, and Katetsu had fought 2 Akatsuki members yesterday. And one of them managed to kill Asuma. "We're to go to his funeral right now, Naruto," Yamato tells him before disappearing to get ready for the funeral. How did the Akatsuki find out about the group? And since the Akatsuki only desire the tailed beasts, why did they kill him? I'll have to ask Ba Chan or someone else what transpired.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.